Well, hello. I'm pleased you could join me. My name's Pene. I live in the southeast of England with my husband Pete, and I'm happy to be here again. It's been quite an absence. He's been absent for quite a while because he's been very, very poorly. I think some of you know, and I want to thank you first of all for all your good wishes, all the love that's been shown to us, and I've passed every message on to him, and yeah, it's great. It's been lovely. So I'm sorry I haven't been here. I've been thinking of you all the time. Oh, I'll show them this, I'll show them that. But it just wasn't possible. So in case you're new here, I usually do a vlog, have a little film at the end. I haven't got one this week. I'm doing something different because last time I asked you if you'd like me to show you how I do my quilt as you go, and I started to do a little bit, and so I did yesterday. I did a little film of how I do it. There's lots of different ways you can do it, but I just showed you how I do it. And also, oh, I know it's up there hanging up. I've got to get those down. I've started to do something from Anne Handmade. I think that's how you say it. Anyway, I'll put it on the screen. And she gave me an idea. It was something she did a couple of years ago, and people joined in for the year. And I was just, browsing, and I came across it, and I thought, well, that's something I'd like to do this year. So I'll show you what I'm doing. So yes, it's crafting, and I tell you about my life and what's going on. It's just Penelope's chinwag. It's just a chat. So I think this is my 96th episode. So I've done a couple of years now. It's been lovely. So what's been happening? Well, I think last time you sort of got the gist that Pete wasn't well. And what happened was overnight that turned into sepsis, and he just couldn't move. He just could not move one part of his body. It was quite, very, very frightening. So I called the ambulance and they took him to hospital. From there it got worse and worse because not only could he not move any part of his body, it all swelled up. And the reason it all swelled up like melons, every part of his, it was called reactive arthritis. And so it took them about, I would say 5 weeks to get that under control. I think it's 8 weeks on Tuesday. And so, about 5 weeks to get it under control. And then they got it under control, and Pete's body fought it. And he's doing so well. He's doing so well. Obviously, he's got to learn to walk again. He's got to get his balance. But he's been transferred now to another hospital, which is where they, teach you how to do all that again. And he's doing well. He's doing well. He said to me this morning, he shuffled down to the end of his bed and sat on the end of his bed, which for us is a miracle. And it's just wonderful. The only thing is, in the other hospital local to me, it was visiting from 7 in the morning till 8 at night. And I must say I spent all day, every day with him. And I did my crafting. I did, looked after him, what he needed. Because you need someone with you, don't you, when you can't move and you're, so poorly in pain. And so visiting 7 till 8. And then I got there about 10 o'clock and left about 8, And then I popped home for an hour in the afternoon, had a little rest. But it was pretty full on for, 7 weeks, really. And this last Saturday, as I'm talking now, it's Friday. So last Saturday, they took him by ambulance to a hospital in Herne Bay, and which is about 35 minutes from me. And I must say, I didn't relish driving in the dark. The lights now seem so bright, don't they? These LED lights. Anyway, I was prepared to do it, and but then they had lockdown. Tuesday, no visiting, and there's been no visiting ever since. They've got flu. So in a way, although it was horrible, it gave me a few days just to, well, potter about my house, have a little rest in bed, and get my strength back, which I've done. So he's doing well, and he will be sent home eventually. We don't quite know when, but he will be sent home with a care package, I think, and well, we hope then that, you know, he progresses through that. So that's where we are at the minute. Shall I show you what I've been making? I have been making the quilt as you go things. I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you a little video at the end. So if you can quilt, and if you can quilt as you go, or you're not interested in that, you know, you don't have to watch right to the end. Here's a sample of my quilt as you go. Show you up close. There we are. This is Tana Lawn, and this is cotton. I do show you on the video, and you'll see I've got them all here. And so I'm going to put those down. The reason I like quilt as you go for the moment is that I do have this big quilt here, and this needs quilting, and I do plan on getting it quilted. Let me just open it up and show you. Ooh, see, they get very heavy. Now this is, I'm going to take off the backing because I don't want the back. I've decided to do some more work on it on the front, so I'm just going to pull the backing off. You can see how quite heavy they can get, so which is why I wanted to do a quilt as you go. I like to do things by hand. I'm not really a machine girl. I can do it by machine, but I like just sitting in the armchair, you know. Now let me take the wadding off. Okay, here we go. And this is, what is this? Oh, this is a plique, a big quilt, a plique. I think I have shown you on other episodes, and I did it in squares, but it's got circles on it, and I've started to put beads on and embroidery bits. Probably hard for you to see, but I've embellished it. That's the word, isn't it? Let me show you another one. It's quite big. There we are. So I've done French knots there, and I think just French knots on that one. Oh, little blue beads there, but I intend on doing a lot more. Why not, I thought. Get it out and finish what you want to do. I started doing the beading. Can you see here? Catches the light. And then this is all a plique. Not a plique, what am I saying? You see, I don't know quite where I am. It's, well, honestly, I'll have to go for, oh, I can't think of the word. Not a plique. A plique is when you sew things on the front. And I can't think of the word. It's gone. That's how I am at the minute. You can see how you sew the pieces together. You have little bits of paper, English paper piecing. So I've had the paper round, and then you sew the bits together, and you sew the bits together with whip stitch. Can you see how you can see those little whip stitches? Oh, they're only small, but you do get a bit of a seam, and I didn't really want that. And with the quilt as you go, you don't do whip stitch, you do ladder stitch, and you don't get that seam then. And of course, I've got to back this and quilt it, which is a whole big deal. You can see that. I'll take a photo of this. I'll lay it down and take a photo. but I'm going to do a lot more work on the front. It's a work in progress. Right, I've sewn quite a few beads on there. Can you see them sparkling? And the French knots here. Oh, and I embroidered just a little bit of embroidery on the mouse. And my friend, she went to Ali Pali. I couldn't make it, and she bought me some beads. So I'm going to use those beads, and I'm going to embellish it a lot more. But it's going to be rather beautiful, I think. I'll take a photo of it and you can see it. Anyway, I didn't want to land up with a big quilt like that needed quilting. I've got so many quilts. I've given away so many quilts. And so that's why I'm quilting as you go. But if you hang around to the end, I will show you how I have made my pieces and how it saves all this, you know, getting it enormous, and I'm going to sew them together and make a quilt together. Sitting by Pete's bed, I knitted West Yorkshire Spinners Woodpecker. And something said to me, well, I started these before Pete became ill. And something said to me, I always do 72 stitches. And something said to me, do 68, which is only a fraction smaller. But Pete's lost about, in 8 weeks, he must have lost, well, he's lost all his body weight. He's lost all his, he's lost everything. He's stick thin now. And these will fit him lovely, because just those few difference in stitches, 68 to 72, makes a difference in the leg. So that's the woodpecker, if any of you fancy doing that. It's rather fun, and I think, yeah, it's lovely for him to come home to. Blends in with the background, doesn't it? And then for my son-in-law, I gave him a pair of socks, and he loves them. He said, he calls me Pene. He said, Pene, I don't want to ever take them off. I said, well, I'll knit you another pair then, so you've got a pair for when they're taken off. And I knitted Swallow. And these are the Swallow. I did 72 stitches for these, and that fits him beautifully. And I think they're rather pretty. Well, rather nice. And when you look at the Swallow, it's the colours. I managed to get them the same. I like them the same. Started the same at the top. And yeah, I'm like that. I like things. I don't really want, I mean, if they're odd, but I like them the same. So I did that to show you. What else have I got to show you? Well, I've got the 52 things. I'm going to do one a week, and I've done weeks 1 and 2. I'm going to do it on a Sunday, and they're very, very small, so they're not going to take much time. But what they do take is thought, and I have found myself this week thinking, oh, what am I going to sum up this week with? So I'm going to just reach up here. Oh, can you see my curtains? They're oak leaves. Oh, where am I here? I'll show you in a minute, because I know of you wanted to see them. And also, she wanted to see, because I said in my bathroom, I've got a bed. And she, a bed in the bathroom? I know, but I have, because we downsized from quite a big house. We downsized to this bungalow, and then we built this bedroom and bathroom on upstairs. That was 24 years ago. And I had 5, well, I still got 5 grandchildren. They were, you know, well, one was 0 and one was, well, he's 33 now, so work that out. And they all used to come and stay together, the 5 of them. And so I needed space. So I thought, I'll put a little bed, I'll put a bed in the bathroom, and it was fine for them. There was always one of them that slept in there. I'm just going to reach up and get the little things to show you. Won't be a minute. So I'm keeping these on the shelf here, all my bits and bobs. I don't have a craft room. I just have my crafty bits. I've sorted out my wardrobe, so now I've got my cupboards for my paper crafting, and a drawer with wool in, and I've got various little bits over there in the bedroom that look neat. I keep all my fabric in old suitcases, and I've got 3 suitcases. I've always had 3. I've been sewing all my life, and I did have a good clear out. I passed on a lot, and also with the wool as well. I've just kept what I wanted to keep, Anyway, let's get back to these. I watched Anne Brooke Textiles, and I'm thoroughly enjoying her YouTube channel, and she's given me this idea. She did it as a group, and Facebook group, a couple of years ago, I think, but I thought this is just ideal for me, just a way of keeping record of the weeks through the year. 52 sent off 52 tags. I think there was about £7 from Amazon. Put it on a ring, doesn't take up much space, and then I've done my first week 1 and week 2. So I'll just put a little film in here and show you and explain what this is. So here's week 1. Some wintry fabric, little busy bee, a button, very old. Little dog, a swallow, and a photograph, or a painting, but in my case, photograph. So that's what I did for my week 1. And then on the back, I made a little tuck, and I wrote why I made that in week 1. The winter fabric for how I feel about December. Yeah, December's not a good month. Well, Pete got ill this year. 10 years ago, he was in an induced coma because he got sepsis through... Anyway, let's go into it all. My son-in-law was poorly, 2017. My mum and dad died on the 28th, and my mum died on the 31st. So, yeah, December now. We'd rather go from November to January, but of course that can't be done. The flower fabric, yes. I'm looking forward to spring and keeping my hopes up for Pete's recovery. The photo fabric, well, we were sharing photos of PJ on WhatsApp, on the family WhatsApp, as he started to make changes. Swallow fabric, I was knitting the swallow socks while I was at the hospital for Mike, my son-in-law. I'll show you those. And I was as busy as a bee. Visiting hours was from 7 in the morning till 8 at night. And I remember the first day I got there at 7:30 because I wanted to see, the consultants and that. But soon realised that, 10 o'clock would be fine. And I spent from 10 till 8 there. I cooked him his lunch before I went, and we had lunch together there. And yes, it was all pretty hectic. So busy as a bee. And then when Pete went to Ashford for a PET scan, which is about an hour away, so he was gone all day, I went for a lovely walk with Freddie, my daughter's dog, and Tommy, my great-grandson, and my daughter. And we just walked to the sea, and Tommy played in the sand, as did Freddie. And it was just a lovely, ordinary day. Just one day that stands out for me in all this time. My nan's old button. It was to represent my surprise when I was told that Pete was in a men's geriatric ward. I went, geriatric? Oh, yes, she said. Well, and when I thought about it, of course, if you're a child, you go to paediatrics, don't you? Because, things are different when you're young and different when you're older too. I mean, he's 79 in a fortnight, so of course it's geriatric, but it doesn't feel like that for us. So, yes, that's representing that. So that's my week 1. And then week 2 was a bit simpler to explain. Had some lovely cards from people, lovely messages, all the love shown to me and Pete. And this is my mum's. She had some beautiful nightgowns, and I couldn't keep all the all the night dresses. My dad bought them for her, and so I just cut it off when I was going through the house, all the bits, and cut it off and just put it in a big pile. I didn't know what I wore. I just thought, well, I've got to keep those. And of course, that was very apt for week 2. Why? Because the heart and the card is for all the love shown to us. The blue fabric is from Mum's 90. It was difficult walking into Pete's new ward because he was on acute and then transferred after a while into this other ward. And that other ward was exactly adjacent to the one my mum was in last year. So it was quite hard walking in, for the first few days. But there we are, did it. So that's my week 1 and week 2 and my explanations. Let's see what week 3 brings. So I've thoroughly enjoyed doing that, and I've got some thoughts about this week. Obviously how the week has affected me and expressing it in fabric. I like this little bit here. It's only a small bit. You can see week 1 how I felt. That represents my hope. And sometimes it was up and sometimes it was down. But yeah, it's back now. So we'll see what week 3 brings. So I'm going to put up the film I did of how I do my quilt as you go. And I hope you enjoy that. If you don't stick around for it because you don't enjoy sewing or anything like that, I'll say cheerio. And if you do stick around for it, I'll say cheerio at the end. So thank you for joining me, and thank you if you're a new subscriber. And I expect you appreciate it's a little bit different this week, but I've just got time because I can't visit him in hospital. I've just got time. Well, I just wanted to come on and say hello to you all. So I say cheerio. Bye-bye. Well, if you're still here for the Quilt As You Go, I hope you enjoy how I show you how I've been doing it. I've been using some things from a lady called Nicola, I think, and she goes by the name of Daisy and Grace, and I really, really have enjoyed using her products. They're not expensive. In fact, I sent off for another one yesterday and it arrived this morning. It's a square one and I'm looking forward to using that. So I'm going to be, I want to do some, as I say, some different kind of stitching. And the one I sent off for is a 5-inch square. And I want to make a cover for, I'll show you, hang on. When I first started doing paper crafting, I mean, I haven't done that much, I'm a beginner. I think this was the first thing I made. It's called a folio. It hasn't got a hard cover and it's got all the photographs in it. And look, I took this to Pete while he was on, took this to Pete and we went through and it was something to talk about, but I realised how delicate it is because it hasn't got a hard cover. So I want to make a fabric, a fabric cover that I can put it in that will keep it safe. It's fine having it up on the shelf, but if you take it anywhere, so that's what I want to do. And I'm going to do that with these 5-inch squares and do a bit of, abstract sewing on them. So I'll put the little film up now and I hope you enjoy that. And I'll say goodbye at the end. So let me show you the ones I've done so far. I've done this one. Little hares, oak leaves and trees. And each individual bit has its own backing. That's the word, backing, isn't it? So you can have it that way if you want to, and then you don't see that turning. That's how it looks if you wanted it that way. So both ways. This one I've done. Again, it's got the same turning. So my backing is the same as the front. If I turn it over, it looks like that. Another one. This one's got a different backing because I didn't have enough of this fabric. So I chose a fabric that I thought would go. And so when you turn that one on the back, it looks like that, because that backing is obviously different to the middle bit. I've done that one. This was my first one that I showed you, and I did the backing different for each piece. When I did all the backing as blue, and you had a double line of blue, I didn't like it. So I undid it and did that in pink. And I think that looks nice. When you turn that on the back, of course, you've got blue and pink, because that's the backing of it. And then this one. So we've got the Strawberry Thief, and again the Strawberry Thief in green, bigger print. This is Liberty Tana Lawn, and this is Liberty Tana Lawn. But this is a cotton. Well, I thought it went. And so if I turn that over, again, I've got the same. But you don't get the seam. I think you get that now, don't you? How I've done my design, these from, I think it's Daisy and Grace. She does all different shapes and sizes. But this is one set. It's not expensive. Not expensive at all. But you'll see why it's really good to do it this way. First of all, let me show you the one I'm working on now. And I thought I'd do the last bit with you. This is the bit I'm doing now. Okay. And we need something to finish it off. And so I wanted to, what we call, audition the fabric. And with these, you can, because you can see through them. So when I put that on my fabric, I got it exactly where I wanted to. You can cut around it with a rotary cutter and get it. I mean, you can, you know, do so many at a time then. But I just sit by the fire and do mine. And I draw around there and then cut on the inside of the draw line. And I'll show you why that's good. So that's that one. Then in the set, I got a hexie. And again, you can see what you're cutting. And then the diamond. So that's your 3 shapes for this particular shape. I mean, you could just do all hexies or whatever you wanted to do, but that's what I wanted to do. I fancied it, and I think they'll probably join together and make quite a nice lap quilt. I don't know. I just got quite carried away with using all my. I'm using my stash, not buying for anything. I made my friend a bag in this fabric, so I thought, well, that looks rather nice. So I'll do that. So I'll show you how, just to finish off, how I do that piece. First of all, I need my little, what do you call that? Sandpaper. That holds your fabric down. You know, it doesn't stop it slipping. Let's put it like that. Right, so here we go. I'm doing the diamond. And what can happen when you do this is you can get it misplaced. So with these two pieces, you're not going to get it misplaced. So the first thing I did was to put my fabric down and draw around that piece. There's a bit of ink there on the piece. I'm just sitting around the fire, draw around it and cut it out. Next thing I do is cut a bit of wadding by using this shape. And I cut my wadding. Just draw around again and cut it out. Now that should fit nicely in there. And I'm going to show you what can happen, because it has actually happened here. When I put this piece in, which I cut from that piece, it's so easy just to cut it a fraction bigger. Can you see that? It's a little fraction too big. It's only a fraction, but that will make that piece a fraction too big. And so when I go to sew it on here, it's going to be a fraction too long. I don't want that. So my wadding was the right size. So I'm now going to take that out. Oh, you can see, look, I must have been tired. That's my excuse. And so I'm just going to cut along there, trim it up. It doesn't happen every time, but it just happened that it happened this time. Trim that up. Now that fits beautifully. So I know that's not going to be too big, too small. It's going to be fine. And then I just, on my sandpaper, I've got a good non-slippy edge, and I just secure it down. Then I know I'm safe to take that off. That's in the right place now. That's okay. So all I do is I just fold that down and fold it over. It meets nicely. Turn it round. Don't want the little bit. There's no, I don't glue or anything like that. You can see how that just fits nicely there and then turns over. I know that this is exactly the right size. I'm not going to get one bit bigger than the rest, or here we go. Turn it round. Turn it to there and turn it in. And the same this way. I'm making a mini quilt. That's it. I've got a couple of little bits here. So I need to turn it over. It's quite simple. There's your line. I just fold it in. Let's cut those long bits off because they'll get in the way. I'll pull them. Yeah. I just fold that, tuck it in. Tuck it in. You want to get it flat. And you want to get it to line up. There we are. Pop that on there. Other side. I just want to tuck that in. I'll try and get it flat and neat. Just literally tucking it under. You'll see why. Now, as a quilter, I know some people when they do this, they sew these bits down, but I don't, because when you do a quilt, you never sew those bits down on the corner. You leave them. You just miter the corner, but you don't sew it down. So I just get some strong thread. I use the grey, suits most things, 100% polyester. This is a Gutermann. I don't know if you can see, but I'm doing this blind really. But just to show you what I mean, here you see, as a quilter, we never sew that down. We always just miter the edge of the quilt. And that's what I've done here, because these are like mini quilts. So I start in the middle. You can start anywhere. And then I put my finger on the knot and pull it through. Put your finger on, otherwise the fabric won't like you. And then I just do like a little hemming stitch, you know. Reminds me when I love hand sewing, and when my children were little, right from born, I hand sewed all their clothes until I got a machine, which was, well, they were quite, you know, 7 or 8. I did everything by hand. I used to enjoy doing the seams and just enjoy doing it. I love hand sewing. So here we go. We've met that corner. I feel that's important to meet that corner. And so I always do just a little couple of stitches there, just to reinforce that corner to make it nice. There it is. And then what's going on here? I just done that so I can take those out. Just a little hemming stitch along. I'm coming up to the corner, and you might think, oh, what do you do there? Nothing drastic. Do the corner the same as you did the other one. Tiny little stitch and catch it together, because you want that to look neat. You don't want, you know, one longer than the other. Then what I do, I don't want to sew this seam down, because it'll flatten it. It'll flatten this, and that's the edging. So I push my needle up to the corner. Just my preference, and I do a small ladder stitch, which means just like the rungs of a ladder, come across, small little stitch, you see that rung of a ladder coming across straight, going back straight, rung of a ladder, coming across, and then I just slip it in there, and I poke my needle through to come up where I left off. So there, I've got it sewn down. So then whip round here. I usually sew on my lap, not on a table, unless I'm quilting a quilt. There we are, those two meet now. So I'm going to come up, do a small little stitch. You can even do a little knot if you really want to make it secure, and then carry on round. And I'm coming up to my last leg. So each piece is finished, you sew it together, and when you've sewn the pieces together, that whole piece is finished, which is rather nice. You haven't got to think, oh, I've got to put it all together and quilt it, which is lovely too. But I mean, I've enjoyed doing this while I've been sitting at the hospital, and as Pete got more aware and better, I said, what do you think of these fabrics going together? Oh, not keen on that one. So I came home and chose something different, and oh yes, I like that one. He always has an input in what I do, which I like. Here again, I'm at the corner. I'm just going to do that tiny little stitch. I can make a knot if I want to, and then I pop it up to the edge, and I'm going to do that little ladder stitch. Go along, straight across and along, straight across and along, along, and then just catch that little bit there. So that's the front. Put your needle through, come back to where you were, make sure you haven't gone through the other side, and then we've just got to finish that bit. Oh good, it looks like the cotton will last. I am catching the wadding in my needle, but not the backing. And to make my knot, I hold that, go round the needle, put the needle in, pull it up, put your finger on and pull it through. That way you don't see it. And there we have it. These bits left to be the edge, not flattened. And I'm going to quilt that round just... I've got some lovely silk embroidery floss. It is silk and it's beautiful to work with. Just turn it like that, make a knot. And I thought it went really well, you know, with the yellow little bit on the swallow. So again, come up, put my finger on the knot. This is really thick, 3 strands, but there we are. It's gone through all right. And I'm just doing just a straight line along. could do all different stitches on here. You could quilt it in 1/4 inch lines. You could quilt the whole piece, whatever you fancy, but I'm just keeping it simple. Will I have enough? I'll just do a little back stitch to secure it. I haven't got enough for a knot and hope that just holds. Not ideal, but there we are. So there we are. Now what needs to be done is that sewn into there. But you can see it fits that way up, or swallows fly in all directions. So again, I can pop that on there. I'll just start you off with this. So the way I do it is to come up into the corner, and if you put your finger over the knot, and just join right to the corner. Just do a couple of little stitches there. And now you're going to do that ladder stitch again. You go over a little tiny bit and make the rung of your ladder. Over and make the rung of your ladder. Make the rung. Straight across. And straight across. And then back again. And back again. Just go across. Make that rung of the ladder. Across. Make the rung and take a little running stitch. Do the ladder and the running stitch. Go along, make the rung. And then I just knot this. Just give it a little couple of going through in the points. and pull that knot through. Click. See how that went? There we are. And you see how that just fits nicely because we made it fit in here. That's why I like that. And because you can audition the fabrics. Do I like that? So there we are. Just showing you how I do my quilt as you go. I mean, the opportunities are endless, aren't they? But that's what I've been doing lately. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little film that I made yesterday of how I do my blocks. Here's the block that I showed you. I haven't sewn that bit in yet, but I wanted to show you the back. I didn't show you the back because I fussy cut the back out with the moths, and on the front it was the butterflies. So I like that one. It's worked out well. So I'm going to love you and leave you, and most unusually there's no film at the end, but there we are. That's how it's been. I haven't managed to, in all the time that all these weeks I've been out for one walk, and that was the walk I went out with my little Tommy, who's talking in sentences now. He's absolutely, he can make himself understood completely about everything, and he talks in sentences, and it's a joy to be with him. So yeah, we went out for a walk. He held my hand the whole way, and he had a great time. He had a great time. If I've got a little film, I'll put that up. So I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye. Oh, I completely forgot, just coming back. I'll take a little picture of the bathroom and the curtains just for you to see. So here's the curtains, oak leaves, William Morris, blues and greens and greys. I'm really pleased with them. I'm going to get some tie backs. I'm really pleased with them. Goes nicely with the wallpaper. Looks grey, but it's a green. It's a warm teal. That's the colour of the wallpaper, but it looks grey. And these are blue and a light green. And then coming through is my bathroom with the bed. So I've got my makes, Maisie, and they all have a chat on there. I've got a little dresser that my dad made for one of the children, and I've got a pile of quilts and bath and sink. I mean, do you really want to see a toilet? But there we are, that's where it is. Oh yes, here's the tile, seaside theme. And this is the quilt I've got on my bed at the moment. English paper piecing, all the little bits. And I think that's what I'm going to do with the one I'm making, Quilt As You Go. That'll probably go on there too. I just so happen to have oak leaves on the bedding. Well, this is all my paper crafting in here, all sorted, all neat. My wool in there, and then, oh, you can see where I've been doing my bits and bobs on there. Nice to be nosy around someone else's house. I've got quilts on the floor. I've got so many quilts. This is a, you know, one you put at the bottom of the bed. I did embroideries on this. Storm at Sea. And I've got another one here. These are little embroideries. I'll just pop them on the floor and change them around, little ones. They're fun. I think I did that during lockdown. I was teaching my daughter how to quilt, and so I did that, and she did it along with me over Zoom, you know. And then I've got my fabric in these old suitcases, and at the minute I'm using all my fabric, so you know, just deciding, so I'm leaving it open. Another one there. That's my brother's bus. He was born in 1956, and that was the bus he played with. And there's another little one there. Okie doke then, I'll say cheerio. Cheerio!